Welcome to our deep dive into reclaiming the narrative and thriving with SEN.
Okay.
You've given us some really interesting excerpts to look at.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a really interesting look.
Mm.
This book dives headfirst into helping children,
Yeah.
especially those with special educational needs,
Right.
truly thrive in the education system,
Yeah.
not just survive, but actually flourish
Yeah.
in a system that, let's be honest, doesn't always make it easy.
Not always. No.
It's
Right.
it can be pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found so fascinating about this book
Yeah.
was the approach to changing the entire conversation around neurodiversity.
Absolutely.
It's about seeing these differences as strengths,
Yes.
not deficits.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental mindset shift for both individuals and society as a whole.
For sure.
So we're not just giving kids with SEN tools to cope.
Yeah.
We're talking about completely flipping the script on how we view and value neurodiversity. That's a big idea.
It is a huge idea.
It's before we get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
One of the most striking points the book makes right away is that the current system is failing our kids with SEN when it comes to mental health.
Sadly. Yeah.
The statistics are really worrying.
They are.
These kids are facing significantly more mental health challenges
Yeah.
than their neurotypical peers.
Right.
And so it's kind of a
Is it
systemic issue.
It's a systemic issue. Yeah.
And the book argues that the problem isn't the child. It's this outdated one-size-fits-all education system.
Right.
We're talking standardized tests, a focus on conformity,
Yeah.
and a lack of flexibility. It's almost like the system itself is setting them up for these challenges.
I think that's a good way to put it.
So imagine you're a child who learns and thinks differently,
Right.
and you're constantly being measured against a standard that doesn't take your unique needs into account.
Yeah.
It's no wonder so many of these kids are struggling. It's no wonder at all.
But the book doesn't just dwell on the problems.
Right.
It offers solutions. One of the key concepts it introduces is this idea of reframing what normal even means.
Yeah. I love that. It's a
Yeah.
really powerful concept to rethink that.
Yeah.
You know, like, what is normal anyway?
Exactly. Who gets to decide that?
Who gets to decide?
Yeah.
So the book pushes for radical acceptance of individual differences.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where different isn't seen as less than,
Yeah.
but as simply different.
Right. Just different.
And those differences are valued and celebrated.
Right, and actually contribute, you know, like bring something to the table.
It's a world I want to live in.
I think we all do.
But how do we get there?
Right.
The book talks about building resilience in
Yeah.
children with SEN. Honestly, I think a lot of these tips can apply to any child,
Yeah, for sure.
even adults.
Mm-hmm.
For example, accepting all feelings without judgment.
That's such a powerful concept.
It is.
You know, instead of dismissing or minimizing a child's feelings,
Yeah.
we acknowledge them, we validate them.
We say this is...
We say, hey, it makes sense that you're feeling this way.
Yeah.
You know, reading can be really tough
Right.
when you have dyslexia or whatever it is, you know?
It's like we're giving them the emotional vocabulary and the tools
Exactly.
to understand and navigate their own inner world.
Right. It's like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
We're giving them the skills.
And you know, sometimes it's not about fixing the feeling,
No.
but just sitting with it.
Yeah. Just being present with it.
Like, we don't have to fix everything.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
don't have to have all the
We
answers.
can just be there.
Right. Just be present.
And that leads into another important strategy,
Okay.
modeling positive self-talk.
Yeah.
So if children see the adults around them talking kindly to themselves,
Yeah.
working through their frustrations in a healthy way,
Right.
they're more likely to internalize those strategies.
Absolutely. They're little sponges. They're watching us all the time.
They are.
Even when we don't think they are.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The book also talks about building in wait buttons,
Oh, I love that.
encouraging kids to pause,
Yeah.
take a break if needed,
Take a breath.
but not give up on challenging tasks.
Right.
This seems like such a valuable lesson in perseverance,
Yes.
which builds resilience.
Absolutely.
You might be thinking, okay, but how do I actually implement this?
Right.
Well, the book gets into the nitty-gritty of these strategies,
It does.
offering practical tips
No.
and examples.
Yeah, it's really helpful. You know, it gives you concrete things you can actually do,
Right.
which I think is so important.
Because it's like one thing to have the big idea
Totally.
and another thing to actually be able to put it into practice.
Right. Like, how do you actually make this work in your daily life?
Exactly.
With your kids.
With your family.
Right.
So all of these strategies empower children, regardless of their neurodiversity, Yeah.
to face challenges with confidence.
Right. To feel equipped.
To feel equipped.
Yeah.
And to feel like they have the tools they need
Exactly.
to navigate a world that isn't always designed for their way of thinking and learning.
That's a great way to put it.
Now, one of the things that really caught my eye
Okay.
was the books section on powerful conversations.
Oh, yes.
It introduces this accept, explain, reframe model for talking to children about their SEN.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I love that model.
It's a brilliant framework for shifting the narrative.
Yes.
So, for example,
Okay.
let's say a child is feeling frustrated with their dyslexia.
Right.
We start by acknowledging and accepting that frustration.
Yeah.
We say, it makes sense that you're feeling this way. Reading can be really tough when you have dyslexia. Then we explain the neurological basis for their challenges with reading and writing.
Right.
Your brain processes information differently,
Yeah.
and that can make certain tasks more challenging. But you know what?
But then we reframe those challenges as unique strength.
Exactly. That's the key.
So instead of just focusing on what's wrong,
Right.
we're highlighting the potential within those challenges.
Yeah. Flipping the script.
That's such a powerful shift in perspective.
It really is.
So we might say, but you know what? People with dyslexia are often incredibly visual thinkers.
Yes.
And they're amazing storytellers.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain might see the world differently, and that can be a real advantage.
Exactly.
It's about celebrating those strengths rather than trying to fit them into a box that doesn't suit them.
Right. Instead of trying to fix them,
Yeah.
we're celebrating.
The book also stresses the importance of positive observations
Yeah.
instead of generic praise.
Yes. Specific praise.
So instead of just saying, good job,
Good job.
we get specific.
Right.
We might say, wow, you have such a keen eye for detail.
Yeah.
That drawing is incredible. Or, I love how you use color in this painting. This kind of focused feedback nurtures self-esteem
Absolutely.
and motivation.
It shows them that we're really paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a throwaway compliment.
We see you.
Yes, we see you, and we appreciate your unique talents.
And these conversation techniques aren't just for parents and educators.
Yeah.
They can help you build stronger, more supportive relationships with all the children in your life.
Absolutely. Anyone you're interacting with, really.
It's about creating a space where kids feel seen, heard,
And understood.
and understood.
Yeah, that's the foundation for any strong relationship.
Now, the book takes us on a bit of a tour through common SEN conditions,
Okay.
like dyslexia, dyscalculia, ADHD, and autism. And while it does mention key symptoms for each,
Yeah.
it avoids getting bogged down in technical details, which I appreciate.
Right. It's not a medical textbook.
It's not.
It's really focused on the practicalities.
It's focused on the impact these conditions have on a child's experience in the current education system. Exactly.
For example, you'll find that the book really gets into how ADHD can look so different from child to child.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, imagine being a kid who can't seem to sit still or follow directions,
Right.
no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
That's what these kids are dealing with in a system that often demands stillness and prolonged focus.
Right. It's just not set up for them.
So it's about understanding those challenges so we can start to think about solutions, right?
Exactly.
And this knowledge can help you identify potential areas of need and advocate for appropriate support for your child.
For your child or for any child in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the book's discussion on the diagnosis dilemma is really valuable here.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's such a complex issue.
It is.
And the book presents a balanced view of the pros and cons of pursuing a formal diagnosis for SEN.
Right.
So on the one hand,
there's the potential for understanding yourself better.
Yeah.
Accessing resources and support and advocating for accommodations.
Right.
But there are also concerns about stigma,
Absolutely.
oversimplification of complex conditions, and of course the cost of assessments.
Right. Those can be very expensive.
So it's not a simple yes or no decision.
It's not.
You really have to weigh the potential benefits against the potential drawbacks.
Exactly.
And make the decision that feels right for your individual family.
Right. And for your child.
And for your child.
Because every child is different.
And the book really seems to emphasize that knowledge is power.
Yes.
understanding a child's cognitive profile is essential.
It is.
For personalizing their education.
Right.
But it's a decision that each family has to make based on their individual circumstances.
Based on their unique situation.
And, this brings us to another key concept from the book.
Okay.
This idea of cognitive profiling. Now, you might be thinking, okay, what exactly does that mean?
Right.
It's like creating a detailed map of how a child's brain works.
A good way to think about it.
What are they good at?
Yeah.
Where do they struggle? What truly motivates them?
Right.
It's about seeing the whole picture, not just a label or a diagnosis.
Right, the whole child.
Exactly.
And not just a label.
And this idea of cognitive profiling really leads to the big idea.
Okay.
The book is pushing for a truly personalized education system.
Yes.
And it's not just pie-in-the-sky dreaming.
No, I think it's achievable.
I think so, too.
We have the tools.
Yeah.
We have the knowledge.
We do.
We just need to implement it.
So tell me more about this personalized education system.
Okay.
What does that actually look like?
So the book paints a picture of a system that caters to individual learning styles, offers flexible learning environments, and moves away from standardized tests as the sole measure of success.
Right.
Imagine a classroom where children are encouraged to learn in ways that work best for them.
Yeah.
Whether that's through hands-on activities, visual aids technology,
Right.
or a combination of approaches.
Right.
It's about recognizing that there are multiple paths to learning and success.
Okay.
Not just one right way.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the book shares this compelling anecdote about a child correctly identifying the X on a triangle, but being marked wrong for not using the expected method.
Oh, gosh.
Which is so frustrating. But it really illustrates the absurdity of a system that stifles creativity and penalizes kids for thinking differently, for being outside the box. And that story is so frustrating.
It is.
But it also highlights the need for alternative options.
Yeah, like what else is out there?
What else is out there?
Right.
So the book explores the rise of things like special schools, online learning, and other models that offer more flexibility and tailored support.
Right. And some of those models are really innovative.
They are.
And they're showing that there are other ways to educate and nurture children. Outside the traditional system.
Of the traditional system.
Yeah.
And speaking of nurturing, the book dedicates an entire chapter to the importance of play.
Oh, I love that.
And not just for young children, but for older children and even adults.
Right.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, play is great, but do teenagers really need play?
Right.
And the book actually addresses that directly.
It does.
Play is so much more than just fun and games.
Yeah, it's essential.
It's a powerful tool for learning and development at any age.
Yeah.
And research has shown that play enhances cognitive development, improves social skills, and boosts creativity.
Right.
So it's not just about letting kids run around and have fun.
No.
It's about intentionally incorporating play into their learning experience.
Yeah, making it part of the curriculum.
Making it part of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be separate.
Exactly.
It should be integrated.
And for children with SEN, play can be especially beneficial.
Absolutely.
It can provide a safe space to explore,
to experiment,
to take risks, and learn in a way that feels natural and engaging.
Yeah, where they can really be themselves.
Right.
And let their creativity shine.
And the book stresses that there's no age limit.
There isn't.
For play,
no.
Encouraging playfulness throughout childhood and adolescence can have lasting benefits.
Absolutely.
Fostering problem-solving skills, adaptability, and a love of learning.
Right.
And let's be honest, we adults could all use a little more play in our lives, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
We get so serious sometimes.
We do.
We forget to have fun.
We forget to have fun.
Yeah.
But on a more serious note, the book also addresses the strong link between SEN and mental health challenges.
Sadly, that link is there.
And it is there.
Yeah.
The book highlights the concerning statistics. Children with SEN are significantly more likely to experience mental health challenges.
Right.
And the system often falls short in providing adequate support.
Yeah. We're not doing enough.
And it's really heartbreaking.
It is.
Because these kids deserve better.
They do. They deserve all the support we can give them.
What recommendations does the book offer for prioritizing mental health and well-being?
So the book talks about...
For these kids?
Yeah.
Early identification and support are key.
Yes.
We need to be attuned to the signs of mental health struggles in children with SEN and provide them with the resources and help they need.
Yeah.
And the book also stresses the importance of nurturing strengths and passions.
Yes.
Outside of academics.
Outside of academics.
Giving kids outlets for self-expression and joy. Right. That might not be available. Exactly. In the traditional classroom setting. So things like music, art, sports.
Yeah, all those things that they're passionate about.
But they're passionate about. Yeah. Whatever it is that lights them up.
Exactly.
And of course, access to counseling and emotional support services is crucial.
Absolutely.
We need to remember that these are whole children. Yes. Not just brains. Right. To be filled with information.
Yeah.
Their emotional well-being is just as important.
If not more so?
If not more so, as their academic achievement.
Absolutely.
We need to take a holistic approach to education.
Yeah.
Recognizing that a child's mental and emotional well-being is fundamental to their overall success and happiness.
It really is.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But this is just the beginning of our exploration.
Right.
Of this really important topic.
It's a big topic.
It is a big topic, and there's so much more to unpack.
There is.
So be sure to join us for part 2 of this deep dive into reclaiming the narrative and thriving with SEN.
I'll be here. So picking up where we left off, you'll find the book dives into the specifics of some common SEN conditions. Okay. And it does this in a really smart way. Yeah. You know?
Okay.
It focuses on how those conditions actually play out.
Yeah.
In a traditional school environment.
Gotcha.
It's not just about listing symptoms.
Right.
It's about understanding the real impact on a child's experience.
So instead of getting lost in technical jargon, we're getting a glimpse into what it's actually like for these kids.
Exactly, day in and day out.
Yeah, day in and day out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So take dyslexia, for example.
Okay.
The book highlights the struggles with things like reading aloud in class, keeping up with written assignments, even just staying organized.
Oh, wow.
When so much depends on written information, it's easy to see how a child could start to feel stupid in that kind of setting.
Right.
When really their brain is just wired differently.
And that's a feeling I think a lot of us can relate to.
Yeah.
Even if we don't have dyslexia.
Totally.
That sense of feeling lost or behind when everyone else seems to be getting it.
Uh-huh.
And the book also points out that early signs of dyslexia can be pretty subtle.
Right. It's not always obvious.
Yeah.
Things like delayed speech development, difficulty with rhymes or rhythms, even just struggling to follow multiple instructions.
Really?
Those can all be early indicators. And that's why this information is so valuable for parents.
Okay.
It can empower them to notice those signs and advocate for their child early on.
Because early intervention can make such a difference, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then there's dyscalculia.
Dyscalculia.
Which affects a child's relationship with numbers.
Okay.
Now, you might be thinking, well, who loves math anyway?
Right.
But for kids with dyscalculia, it goes beyond just disliking math. They might have trouble with basic counting, understanding math operations, even telling time or estimating distances.
Wow.
It can really impact their day-to-day life, not just their performance in math class.
Right, right.
And the book points out that dyscalculia is often overlooked.
Okay.
Especially if a child excels in other areas.
Right.
But those struggles are real.
Yeah.
And can really knock a child's confidence if they're not addressed.
And sometimes those struggles can manifest in ways that aren't immediately obvious. Like the book talks about dysgraphia, which affects a child's ability to physically write.
Yeah, and that can be so frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
For a child who has brilliant ideas but struggles to get them down on paper, they might have trouble forming letters, grip their pencil too tightly, or just can't seem to stay within the lines.
Right.
Imagine the frustration of knowing what you want to say, but not being able to express it in writing.
It's like having all these amazing thoughts trapped inside.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's important to remember, as the book points out, that these conditions often overlap.
Right.
A child might have dyslexia and dysgraphia, making both reading and writing a huge challenge.
Absolutely. It's like a double whammy.
It's like trying to navigate a maze blindfolded.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And then there's dyspraxia, which affects motor skills, both fine and gross.
Okay.
This can show up in all sorts of ways.
Okay.
From difficulty with writing and buttoning clothes to struggling with coordination in sports, or even just walking gracefully.
Right.
It can be really tough for kids with dyspraxia.
Yeah.
To navigate a world that often places a high value on physical dexterity and coordination.
Absolutely.
And they might be mislabeled as clumsy or awkward when really it's a neurological condition that makes certain movements and tasks more challenging.
Now, we can't talk about SEN without discussing ADHD.
Right.
A condition that gets a lot of attention and sometimes a lot of misunderstanding. Definitely.
The book is really clear that ADHD is a medical condition.
It is.
That affects brain chemistry and behavior.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of willpower or discipline. It's not about kids just needing to try harder.
Exactly.
The book actually explains the science behind it, talking about an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex and ineffective dopamine production.
It does get into some of the neurology there.
And it stresses that ADHD presents differently in everyone.
So there's no one-size-fits-all picture.
So there's no one-size-fits-all picture of what ADHD looks like.
Right.
Some kids might be primarily inattentive.
Yeah.
Others might be hyperactive and impulsive. And some experience a combination of both.
Right.
So it really is a spectrum.
It is a spectrum, yeah.
And that's why it's so important to look beyond labels.
Absolutely.
And really understand the individual child.
The individual child, yeah.
Okay. Now, the book does list some common symptoms, like difficulty focusing, restlessness, forgetfulness, even struggling to control anger or frustration.
Right. Those emotional regulation challenges can be really tough.
And it acknowledges that ADHD, without the right support, can lead to stress, anxiety, and difficulty building relationships.
For sure, it can impact our whole life.
But it doesn't just focus on the challenges. It also highlights some of the potential strengths associated with ADHD, like a drive to solve problems, creative thinking, and out-of-the-box ideas.
So it's about recognizing.
It's about recognizing that these challenges can actually be superpowers when channeled in the right way.
I love that. Flipping the script again. Seeing those challenges as assets.
Okay. And then there's autism. Right. A complex neurobiological condition that affects communication, social interaction, and behavior. Again, the book avoids getting bogged down in lengthy descriptions of symptoms, but it does mention things like difficulty understanding social cues, repetitive behaviors, and intense interests in specific topics.
Right, it gives you general overview.
And it really emphasizes that autism is a spectrum disorder.
It is, yeah.
Meaning it looks different in everyone.
Absolutely.
So what might be a clear sign in one child might be barely noticeable in another.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing those individual differences.
Yeah.
And tailoring support accordingly.
Tailoring support, that's the key.
So we've got this great overview of some common SEN conditions, but now comes the big question.
Okay.
To diagnose or not to diagnose.
That is the question.
The book presents a balanced view.
It does.
Of both sides of this really complex issue.
Yeah, it's not an easy answer.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
It is.
On the one hand, there's the concern about stigma.
Absolutely.
Labels can be limiting.
Yeah.
And you definitely don't want a child's diagnosis to become their defining characteristic.
Right. You don't want them to be reduced to a label.
Plus, those diagnosis reports can be pretty generic.
Yeah, they can be.
Offering one-size-fits-all solutions that don't take individual needs into account.
And that's the problem.
And there's the cost factor, too.
Yeah, those assessments can be expensive.
And some families might feel pressured to get a label just to access support, even if they have reservations about it.
Right, because sometimes you need that label to get the services.
But the book also acknowledges the power of knowledge.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Having a diagnosis can provide a framework for understanding a child's challenges and strengths.
It can be helpful in that way.
It can give parents and educators a starting point for finding effective strategies.
Right. It can give you some direction.
And in some cases, a diagnosis is necessary to access certain resources and accommodations in the education system.
Exactly. So it's a balancing act.
So it really comes down to weighing the potential benefits against the potential drawbacks and making the decision that feels right for your individual family.
Right. There's no right or wrong answer here.
And one of the key takeaways from this section is this.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you pursue a diagnosis, it's crucial to understand that one size does not fit all when it comes to SEN.
Absolutely. Every child is unique.
Every child is unique.
Sure.
And we need to move away from this cookie-cutter approach to education that the current system often relies on.
It's so outdated, that approach.
And the book really champions this idea of cognitive profiling, which you touched on earlier.
They did.
So remind us again. What exactly is cognitive profiling?
So remember, it's like creating a detailed map of how a child's brain works. It's about gathering information from parents, educators, specialists, anyone who can provide insights into a child's needs, strengths, and passions to create a truly personalized plan.
So it's a much more holistic approach.
It is.
Taking into account the whole child.
The whole child, yes.
Not just their academic performance or their diagnosis.
Yeah.
Okay, and this leads into the book's vision for a personalized education system, right?
Exactly. It all ties together.
Tell me more about this, this personalized education system.
So the book envisions a system that caters to individual learning styles.
Okay.
Offers flexible learning environments and values a wider range of skills and talents.
Okay, so paint me a picture of what this personalized system could look like in action.
Okay, so imagine a classroom where children are encouraged to learn in ways that work best for them.
Yeah.
Whether that's through hands-on activities, visual aids technology, or a combination of approaches. It's about recognizing that there are multiple paths to learning and success.
And it's about moving away from standardized tests as the sole measure of success.
Yes, because those tests don't always capture the full picture.
They really don't.
Of a child's abilities or potential.
Okay, so the book also explores the rise of alternative education models.
It does.
Like special schools, online learning, and homeschooling. All of which offer more flexibility and personalized support.
More tailored to the individual child.
Okay. And speaking of personalized support,
the
book dedicates a whole chapter to the importance of play.
I love that chapter.
And not just for young children, but for teenagers and even adults.
Yeah, play is important for everyone.
The book makes a really compelling case.
It does.
For incorporating play into learning at all ages.
Yeah.
It's not just about having fun.
Right.
Although that's important too.
It is.
It's about the cognitive and social-emotional benefits of play.
Yes, play has so many benefits.
So how can parents and educators actually bring more play into the lives of older children and teenagers?
Well, there are so many ways.
Okay.
It can be as simple as encouraging board games, creative writing exercises, or building projects.
Okay.
The book also talks about using technology in playful ways, like creating videos, designing games, or even just having fun with educational apps.
Right.
It's about finding ways to make learning engaging and enjoyable.
It seems like the key is to tap into that natural sense of curiosity and wonder that we all have as children.
Yeah.
And that often gets lost as we get older.
Exactly. We need to bring back that sense of playfulness.
Yeah.
And for children with SEN play can be especially powerful.
Okay.
They can provide a safe space to explore, take risks, and learn in a way that feels natural and engaging.
And this brings us to the final chapter, which focuses on mental health and well-being.
Right.
This is such a crucial topic.
It is.
Especially for children with SEN, who are statistically more likely to experience mental health challenges.
Sadly, that's true.
The book doesn't shy away from those statistics.
It doesn't.
It acknowledges the increased risk and calls for a more proactive and compassionate approach to supporting these children's mental health.
We need to do better.
So what specific recommendations does the book offer? What can parents and educators do to prioritize mental health and well-being for children with SEN?
Early identification and intervention are essential.
Okay.
We need to be aware of the signs of mental health struggles in children.
Yeah.
And be prepared to seek professional help when needed.
Right.
The book also stresses the importance of creating a supportive and understanding environment at home and at school.
So it's about fostering a sense of belonging and acceptance, where children feel safe to express their feelings and ask for help when they need it.
Exactly, creating a safe space.
And it's also about empowering children by nurturing their strengths and passions outside of academics. Giving them outlets for self-expression and joy can be incredibly protective for their mental health.
Absolutely. It gives them something to focus on. Something positive.
Something that brings them joy.
Right.
This has been such an insightful exploration of the challenges and opportunities surrounding SEN.
Right. It's a complex topic.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From specific learning differences to the need for a more personalized and compassionate approach to education.
It's about changing the system.
So what are some of the key takeaways that you hope listeners will walk away with?
Well, I think one of the most important messages is that every child is unique.
Absolutely.
And we need to move away from this idea that there's one right way to learn. Or one definition of success.
Right.
The book really encourages us to embrace neurodiversity and to see the incredible potential that exists within these differences.
It's about shifting the narrative from one of deficit to one of possibility.
Exactly.
And it's a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a more inclusive and supportive world for children with SEN.
We can all make a difference.
We can all make a difference.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a parent, an educator, or simply someone who cares about children. We can all advocate for a more personalized, compassionate, and play-based approach to education.
Yeah, that's what this book is all about.
You know, we've talked a lot about the challenges and potential solutions surrounding SEN.
Yeah.
But one thing that really stuck with me from this book was its message about redefining success. It's like, what does success actually mean?
Yeah.
Especially for these kids who are often measured against a system that doesn't really value their unique strengths.
It's a really good point.
You know,
And I think it's something we all need to be more mindful of.
Right.
Not just in the context of SEN, but in life in general.
Exactly.
You know, the book really encourages us to break free from this narrow idea that success equals good grades or a high-paying job.
It's about so much more than that.
It is.
Right? It's about finding your passion.
Yeah.
Pursuing your interests and using your unique talents to make a positive contribution to the world.
Exactly.
And for children with SEN, this message is especially powerful. You know, they might have been told directly or indirectly that they're not good enough.
Right.
That they can't achieve certain things because of their differences. And this book challenges that narrative and reminds them that success is not a one-size-fits-all concept.
Absolutely.
You know, it's about finding your own path and defining success on your own terms.
Your own terms, yeah.
And the book actually offers some really helpful questions to guide this process of self-discovery.
Okay.
Like things like, what activities make you feel most excited and happy? Or tell me about a time you felt really proud of yourself.
Those are great questions.
You know, it's about encouraging self-reflection and helping them identify their own values, interests, and aspirations.
Or helping them figure out who they are.
What they want.
What they want.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that will ultimately lead to a fulfilling and successful life, however they choose to define it.
The book also emphasizes the importance of focusing on strengths, even small ones.
Even small ones, yeah.
So it's about shifting the focus from what a child can't do to what they can do.
To what they can do, yeah.
Right. Maybe a child isn't a math whiz.
Okay.
But they have an incredible knack for building things. Or a natural talent for music.
Yeah.
Or an amazing ability to connect with animals.
Right.
Those are strengths that should be nurtured and celebrated.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that everyone has something special to offer the world.
I love that.
And the book reminds us that success can be found in everyday achievements.
Yes.
You know, in those small moments of triumph and growth.
Right.
Not just in those big splashy accomplishments.
Exactly. It's about those little victories along the way.
And those small wins add up.
They do.
And they contribute to a sense of confidence and self-efficacy that can carry a child through challenges.
Absolutely.
Now, the book also encourages us to think about success in a broader sense. Okay.
In terms of making a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, like contributing to something bigger than yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not just about individual achievement.
Right.
It's about contributing to something larger than yourself, using your unique gifts to make a difference.
I love that.
And this brings us back to that idea of neurodiversity as a strength. The world needs different thinkers, different perspectives, different ways of approaching problems.
Absolutely. We need that diversity of thought.
And the book reminds us that individuals with SEN often possess unique strengths and talents.
Yes.
That can be incredibly valuable.
I can be.
It's about embracing those differences and seeing them as assets, not deficits.
Not deficits, yeah.
And as we move towards a more inclusive and accepting society, hopefully we'll see more and more examples of individuals with SEN thriving and achieving success in all areas of life.
I think we're starting to see that.
I think so too.
Which is really encouraging.
Now, the book also offers a reassuring message.
For those who might be facing more severe challenges, it acknowledges that living at the more extreme end of the neurodiversity spectrum can be tough.
It can be.
But it also highlights the increasing acceptance and support available.
Yes, there are more resources than ever before.
And technology has played a huge role in breaking down barriers.
Absolutely.
Especially for individuals with dyslexia.
Yeah.
Assistive technologies and software have made it easier than ever to read, write, and communicate effectively.
Right. Technology can be a game changer.
It really can be.
Yeah.
And I think the world is becoming more aware of and responsive to the needs of neurodivergent individuals.
I agree.
And as we embrace diversity in all its forms, we're creating a richer, more vibrant, and ultimately more successful society.
Absolutely. A better world for everyone.
So this deep dive has been such a journey.
It has.
We've explored the complexities of SEN, the challenges of the current education system, and the inspiring vision for a future where neurodiversity is truly celebrated.
It's been a great discussion.
What's one final takeaway you hope our listener will carry with them from this deep dive?
Well, I think the book's message boils down to this.
Okay.
Every child has the potential to thrive.
Yes.
To find their own unique path to success and to make a meaningful contribution to the world.
I love that.
It's about believing in that potential, nurturing their strengths, and creating a world that embraces and celebrates their differences.
And it's about continuing to learn, to question.
To stay curious.
To stay curious. And to advocate for a more inclusive and compassionate approach to education.
Absolutely.
One that values the unique brilliance of every child.
Every child.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for having me.
Into reclaiming the narrative and thriving with SEN.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's given you new insights and practical strategies to support the neurodivergent children in your life. Remember, every child has the potential to thrive. And we can all play a role in creating a world where their unique gifts are recognized and celebrated.
Absolutely.